Good evening and welcome to Space Oddities. Thank you for joining us on this Bank Holiday Monday in the UK. Hope you're all well. If this is your first time here, you are very welcome. And even if not, you're still very welcome. I've got with me in the studio tonight, well, we're all separated by long distances, but in the virtual studio, we have Michael. How are you, Michael?
Hi there. Well, very well, thank you.
Good. And Roger?
I'm fine. Is everybody else?
Yeah, that's right. It's
so.
everybody else to blame. We did have Daz, but Daz appears to have vanished. I'm sure he'll pop back in a moment. We're expecting Bernard to join us as well. And this time I hope he brings a convincing note from his mother. But we will see. And as if by magic, he reappears. Look at that. So here's Daz. And we are a bit thin on the ground tonight, so do forgive us. Of course, it's being Bank Holiday Monday in the UK. People are busy with lots of other things. But anyway, we have what we hope is an interesting program for you tonight. Tonight, as we've been advertising, we will be announcing the details of our May competition to win a telescope. We'll give you the details of that later. We've also got some interesting stuff coming up about black holes. I've got a few news stories about black holes that have been in the news, so I thought I'd give you those. We're also going to be discussing space stations, the future of, and other odds and ends as well. So I hope you'll stay tuned for the rest of the program and just sit back and enjoy yourselves and have some fun. So in time-honored tradition, we're going to go straight away over to a man whose reputation precedes him.
Right.
Yes, absolutely. He is, of course, Roger. And as always, he kicks off this program with a look at the night sky. So, Roger, what's going on in the night sky?
Well, here we are about to find out. Okay, so for the first week of May, we will be having a full moon on Friday. So, but also on Friday, we've got an Aquariid meteor shower.
Oh, that's right. Yes. God, is it that time already?
That's not going to be helpful at all with the full moon. But,
no, it's not.
No. It's not very major. It's only about 12 an hour. So if you get to spot one, all well and good. But don't pin your hopes on finding anything but that glaring globe in the night sky. So this week, and not half an hour ago, this is what the moon looked like.
Hey.
Rising up into the atmosphere of our skies.
Very prominent tycho, Roger.
Yes, very. And Copernicus.
And Copernicus, yes.
Copernicus again.
Yes. So there's a couple of other. I had a good session a few nights ago when the moon was really up high, about 60 degrees up in the night sky, and good seeing. So I managed to decide to go and do some close-ups. And here are a couple of the results. We've got this one.
Beautiful.
I did this region, and I thought, oh, Hadley Rill, Apollo 15.
Indeed.
I couldn't get to see that. So I put my ×4 on, and then I enlarged the picture, and lo and behold, there it is.
Look at that. That's where it all happened.
That's where it was for Apollo 15. And right, so this one's a bit blurry because I've blown it up a bit more, but there's a more closer up view of the Hadley Rill, and X marks the spot where they were doing their landings and movings about in that lunar rover that they had.
It's amazing you can see that X from the Earth.
Yeah,
especially as it's red as well.
Yeah, it's very clever.
It's very close to those boulders as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Amazing. It's a bit like the tourist centre near the meteor crater. How close was that before it nearly didn't get hit?
Yes, lucky it landed there right next to that tourist centre.
Yeah.
So I thought, okay, if I've got that, then I must be able to locate the other 5 lunar landings. And here we have Apollo 11 and Apollo 16.
Very good.
And of course, in the region of the Apollo 11, you've got the 3 astronauts having craters named after them as well. So that was good. Then we had Apollo 12 and 14. These are the 2 nearest lunar landings on the surface.
And of course, with Apollo 12, you also have Surveyor 3.
Yes.
That's right.
But I was only concentrating on the Apollo missions, Michael.
It's okay.
Pardon
Hey,
me.
why you been told?
Oh, it wasn't really.
Oh, handbags at dawn.
Yeah. So and here we have Apollo 17.
Wow.
Yes. So a fun fact, if people aren't aware, if Apollo 13 had made the mission and landed, it would have replaced the Apollo 14 landing. And consequently, Apollo 14 would have landed where Apollo 17 has landed. So don't ask me where Apollo 17 would have landed if all the other missions were successful. I don't know that answer. But yeah, it's quite an interesting little project. Here's a little map of where they are in relation to and the dates. So first landing was the 20th of July 69 and ended with Apollo 17 on the 19th of December 3 years later. Amazing. 3.5 years and that's all done and dusted.
Amazing. Amazing.
Yes. So there we go. So while I had the telescope out, I did Venus. And as you can see, it was a similar phase when I was taking the moon the other night, and I might have picked up some details of some clouds, but I need a UV filter and an infrared filter and then separate them out to try and get some more details. But there might be something there. Wishful thinking. There's wishful thinking, I think. There are better images, but I've yet to accomplish it. Right. Okay, so onto the night sky. We've still got Venus in a good position over in the western horizon, and Orion is pretty much gone now till the winter months. Mars is still heading towards Castor and Pollux at the moment in Gemini, and Leo and Virgo are dominating the southern horizon with Arcturus and Bootes and Hercules rising up, and also we're starting to get Cygnus and Lyra, so the Milky Way will become much more visible around about midnight. But obviously to see it properly you need to be up about 4 o'clock in the morning to see the full effect of it all. But if you start to see a Fucus in the east, you know Scorpius isn't far behind, and we'll see the core pretty promptly after that. Yeah. So there we go. And fortunately, the moon sets at in the weekends, where you might be fortunate to get a clear sky as well, although that doesn't usually happen.
So, Rod, you're saying there's a 4 o'clock in the morning as well?
Apparently.
Okay.
Anyway, so this is this week's James Webb Space Telescope. They have done Pandora's cluster before, but they've obviously marked out some more interesting distant galaxies that they've been surveying rather. So perhaps it's nearer to the Big Bang that doesn't exist.
Oh dear.
Don't you start.
Yeah, these galaxies, Rog, they've been dated to about 500 to 600,000 years, million years, sorry, after the Big Bang. And there's a debate whether or not they should be, because they're as big as the Milky Way, and we shouldn't have any galaxies that big at that time. So there's a bit of a debate going on. We may talk about it a bit later.
Oh, right.
Yeah, let's talk about that later, because there's so much information in the media about this, and it's driving me totally insane, as you probably know.
And that's my my little session for this evening.
Thank you very much, Roger. That's fantastic. And we'd like to welcome Bernard. We'd like to, but we're not going to.
Folks.
So, how are you, Bernard? You okay?
Yeah, apologies for being late. It's just,
that's all right. It's
life.
It's no surprise.
I gave you the notice from my mother, right?
Yes, but it was in your handwriting, so
yeah, dodgy signature.
Yeah, it's a bit suspect if you ask me. But anyway, have you had a good week, Bernard?
Yeah, it was very nice. Thank you. We were blessed today with it's gonna be highly exciting because I live in England now, and we had the annual duck race in our village. So took my daughter. It was just it's one of these really nice quirks of living here.
And you're also watching the snooker because of a certain Belgian player in the final.
Well, interestingly, my wife and I have always liked to watch the snooker championship, and my wife only told me yesterday there's like a Belgian dude that's we're doing very well, and I'm like, okay, let's watch this guy, and wow, it's very, very good. So who knows?
Yes.
He didn't get the 147 though.
No, his opponent did.
Next time.
In my village in Wales, Bernard, we used to have the annual duck race in the river down to the sea, and I actually won a radio alarm clock once because my duck came in about 1,000. So I was well pleased with that.
That's cool. Yeah. Yeah, totally. It's just when you're a child, it's just a really nice memory to have. So
yeah, absolutely. Although I have to say the prize was donated by a local electrical shop, and an old guy who'd been fixing TVs in there and doing all sorts of odds and ends for years, and the prize was billed as an electric radio alarm clock.
Wow. As opposed to gas powered.
As opposed to or steam powered. Thank God it wasn't a Teasmade. Anyway, moving on. Well, you're all very welcome. It's lovely to see all the panel here. Those that could make it tonight, being bank holiday, and I see we've got 30 odd people watching us now. So thank you all for being here very much. Don't forget to like and subscribe. That is the important thing for us, because your likes and subscribes really do help the YouTube algorithm take notice of us more. And also, if you could find the time to just put a comment in the video when it's published on YouTube tomorrow. Anything you like, you can say bacon and eggs. It doesn't really matter. YouTube really likes the number of comments on videos as well. And the ones in the live chat that you're doing at the moment, they don't count, unfortunately. But the comments after the event do. So if you have time and if you've got nothing better to do, just leave a comment on the video when it's published tomorrow. And thank you all so very much. We'd also like to thank our sponsor, Walder Valley Optics, as always, for sponsoring us this evening, and they have donated the prize for the competition, which we will be giving you the full details of a little later. So I'd like now to just give a few updates about the situation at Boca Chica with SpaceX. SpaceX are continuing the mammoth cleanup task at Boca Chica after the first flight of the Starship began with a RUD and it ended with a RUD. It began with a RUD as in rapid unscheduled digging, and ended with a rapid unscheduled disassembly. Actually, it was scheduled because it was blown up on purpose. Now, there's a lot of work going on there to fix everything. Elon Musk says they can be ready to launch again in 2 months. And as I think I said last week, no, they won't, because even if SpaceX are ready, the government won't be ready. They've got to get, I should think, another full environmental assessment to let them fly again after what happened. And that could take months and months and months. So it's not going to happen anytime soon. But what Elon Musk did say over the weekend was he answered a few questions. There has been a lot of speculation about what actually happened to the Starship. He did confirm that the 3 engines that failed or appeared to fail before the ship had cleared the pad were actually turned off because they were underperforming. So they actually left the launch pad with 3 engines not firing intentionally. He also confirmed that when we saw the Starship veer away at an angle from the tower, that was intentional because they were really scared of causing damage to the tower. So they launched it at an angle so that they just move it away from the tower in case of problems. And he said another few things. One of the bones of contention was the so-called FTS, the flight termination system. Basically, when a rocket goes out of control, somebody at mission control presses a big red button, we presume, and the rocket ship is meant to go bang. And when they did that to Starship, because it was out of control and tumbling through the skies, it took a long time for the explosion to actually happen. The way that the flight termination system works with the Starship is both the Starship and the Super Heavy booster have got an explosive charge fitted to them. Those of you that are avid watchers of this thing may know that it's one of the last things they do before declaring themselves ready for launch is somebody goes up there and actually primes the explosives. And what that does, it blows a hole in the liquid oxygen tank and in the methane tank. Those gases are then meant to mix together, find their way to the exhaust, get ignited by the exhaust and blow everything up. Now, what actually happened was this. Let me just show you this. Give me 1 second. And we'll pick it up towards the time when they're about to push that big red button on the ground. And as you can see, the Starship is tumbling. And just any second now, you will see 2 spurts of gas come out of the sides. There, you can see them both very clearly now, 2 jets with the pressurized liquid oxygen and liquid methane coming out and instantly vaporizing. Now, at this point, the holes have been blown in the liquid oxygen and the liquid methane. They are mixing together, but they're not igniting. And it took more or less 40 seconds before it found a flame and blew the whole thing up. Now, if this had been over a populated area, then it could have been disastrous. That delay could have been disastrous. And Elon Musk has said that they're looking at completely redesigning it. They need more explosives, basically, to blow bigger holes, to let more fuel out. And there we are. There we have the final explosion when it finally happens. So that's another thing they will be. They'll actually be looking at. Another thing he said was that if you remember from last week, I was talking about the tank farm here on the ground. 2 of the tanks, the ones on the left you can see, were severely dented by flying debris. It now turns out that the liquid oxygen tank, the 4th one from the left, that was actually completely punctured and it was venting liquid oxygen for several hours afterwards. So that could have been disastrous had a spark found it. So Elon Musk said that these tanks, SpaceX built these tanks. He says that was a mistake. We should have bought off-the-shelf tanks because these ones aren't up to the job. We've never done it before. And they're going to replace all of those tanks with more sturdy commercial tanks that presumably are built out of something thicker than tin foil, which is what it looks like they're made out of here. So there we have that. That was just a quick update on Starship, but they are cleaning up the parts for the big steel plate that they're going to put under the rocket in lieu of a flame diverter, a water-cooled steel plate or several thicknesses of steel plate to take the immense blast from those 33 Raptor engines. The parts are lying on the ground waiting to be assembled, so they're going ahead with that. Anyway, we may as well move straight on with something interesting. Some black hole news for you. There have been a few black hole stories in the news recently that I haven't covered. So just a few, some amazing things going on here. Now, the first one is that for the first time, astronomers have captured the black hole at the center of M87, which you remember was famously imaged by the Event Horizon telescope. And they've captured both that and the jet emanating from the center of the galaxy from the black hole together for the first time. They've used, again, VLBI, Very Long Baseline Interferometry, is the technique used to do this between the ALMA telescope and a few other telescopes in the Event Horizon array. This is the image. As you can see here, the image is not as clear as the one from the Event Horizon Telescope, but they've captured the M87 black hole again with its shadow, that dark area in the middle where there are no photons, and the jet going off to the right-hand side. Don't forget that jet is immense. It's 5,000 light years long. And how that jet is created and exactly where it comes from around the black hole is still poorly understood. So for the first time, we have an image of the black hole and the jet together. And astronomers are delighted with this, because with this, they hope to be able to track down exactly where that jet originates around the black hole. The idea is that the material that's being sucked at a phenomenal rate into this black hole, about 90 Earth masses of material a day. Some of it is picked up, if you like, by the intense magnetic field around the black hole, is transported to the magnetic poles of the black hole, and is re-emitted in the form of this very, very tightly focused, although it doesn't look it here, but its size is focused, this tightly focused beam of plasma that shoots across space for 5,000 light years. And if you're wondering what sort of energy you need to focus a jet of plasma over 5,000 light years, well, the answer is about 8 trillion supernovas worth of energy. And that is the kinetic energy mainly coming from the black hole, because it's rotating at about 90% at the speed of light. So if you imagine putting a mammoth, if you like, a dynamo from a bicycle wheel on that black hole, how much energy would you get out? You would get out about between 8 and 9 trillion supernovas worth of energy. And that energy goes towards focusing that jet of plasma into a fairly narrow beam over 5,000 light years. I mean, the figures are absolutely unbelievable. So there's that. Also in the news, this was a lovely one. Astronomers have detected a supermassive black hole, which of course is invisible, through gravitational lensing. Now, how did they pull this off? Well, first of all, there is a galaxy called Abell 1201. It's about 2.7 billion light years away. And this is an image of it that the Hubble Space Telescope took. Now, as you can see at the top of this image, there's a sort of a band, a stripe going across it. And for a long time, astronomers didn't know what that was. So what they did this is quite an old image from Hubble, going back a few years. With modern technology, they were able to remove the brightest parts of the galaxy to find out what that is. And I think when you see what this is, bearing in mind what we've been seeing from the James Webb Telescope, you'll recognize it immediately. That feature is actually a lensed background galaxy. And we've seen this a lot recently with James Webb images, where the space that the light from a distant galaxy is traveling through is bent by a massive object like a galaxy, and it smears out and magnifies the background galaxy. But there's also something interesting here, which is called the counter image. And it's this feature there. Now, this is light that has passed very close to the center of Abell 1201 on its journey from the distant background galaxy. And when they subtracted the center of the galaxy itself, what they found was this result here. Now, this is light, don't forget, coming from the background galaxy, passing close to the center of the Abell 1201 galaxy. And they realized that this light is actually being bent or distorted more than it should be by just passing close to a galaxy if there were not a black hole at the center. So by doing some calculations with this, they were able to measure directly the mass of the supermassive black hole at the center of the Abell 1201 galaxy. And just to show you a bit more detail how that works. So here we have the background galaxy, and it sends light rays in all directions, of course, but some of them head towards the Earth. And the space that they're traveling through gets bent by the immense gravity of the Abell 1201 galaxy. And some of it, the light passing close to the center, ends up with that little feature that we saw there. And this was picked up by the Hubble Space Telescope. Now, it is hoped that this technique can be used to detect black holes when they cannot be seen, of course. And there we have, if you look at this on the left, there we have that feature which represents light that's being bent by that black hole. And they ran simulations to find out what sort of mass would that black hole have to have that appearance of light. And if you look on the right-hand side, you can see them increasing in the model the theoretical mass of the black hole in suns. So we're now up to 32 billion suns. And then they realize it's gone too far. The image is actually losing its coherence. So they bring it back down. And they finally nailed it. It's exactly 32.28 billion of our suns. So you've got the real image on the left, the simulated image on the right, and they're virtually identical. And they're pretty sure that this means that black hole at the center of Abell 1201 has around 33 billion times the mass of our sun. So let's hope they can use this technique again in the future to find out about black holes at the center of galaxies that we can't actually see, apart from this bending of background light from a distant galaxy. So there's that. So that was quite interesting as well. Now, this is an incredible one. Runaway black holes. So what happens is you have two galaxies, or maybe even three galaxies, that merge. Their supermassive black holes, their respective supermassive black holes, fall towards the center of the merger, if you like. And due to gravitational interactions, one of those supermassive black holes can actually get kicked out of the galaxy altogether. And here's a graphic showing you that. Now, what then happens is that it's traveling through space, and the one they've been observing is traveling so fast it would only take 14 seconds to get from the Earth to the Moon. So it's moving along at a fair rate of knots. What happens is that ahead of it, it piles up hydrogen from the interstellar medium, much as a speeding ambulance, if you like, piles up sound waves in front of it. And that gas is heated up because of the friction and starts to generate light and other electromagnetic radiation. But then it falls behind the black hole and forms a tail behind the black hole. Eventually, that gas will cool, and the densest parts of it will actually collapse in to form stars. So the idea is that this black hole, and probably many like it, black holes are often portrayed as totally destructive objects. Well, here we have black holes creating stars behind them as they travel through space, which is quite amazing. And this is the actual image that they looked at. As you can see here, they first of all thought it was a defect in the image, that there was, hair on the lens or something or whatever. But it's a real thing. And at the front of it, you see a bright dot, and that's the light from all that glowing gas around the supermassive black hole, leaving this tail of stars behind it. Now, the scale here is absolutely unbelievable. So if you look at this in a bit more detail, there's the black hole at the bottom with the tail of stars pointing straight up in this picture. And that trail of stars is about 200,000 light years long. In other words, it's twice the diameter of our Milky Way galaxy, a trail of stars 200,000 light years long behind this black hole. And that is absolutely, truly mind-blowing. So, again, this is something that theoretically had been talked about, but we'd never seen the actual evidence. And to think that this black hole is creating probably thousands and thousands of new stars in its wake is just absolutely mind-blowing. So there you have it. There you have the black hole news and the actual SpaceX update, as I said. So there we are, guys.
My comment was meant to be sarcastic, actually. Exciting stuff.
Backtrack.
No, it's just. I mean, what can black holes not do, right? It seems to be able to do everything, create new stars, swallow stars. It's fantastic.
I know they can't do the Macarena though, so
not yet.
Not yet. So there we have it. Some absolutely astonishing black hole news there. There's more and more every week, of course, and I will do my very best to bring it to you because, I find these things fascinating, and I'm sure our viewers do as well. So there we are. And more next week, I guess. Anyway, Daz, I think you had some bits and pieces for us, did you not?
Yeah, I did, but you've covered some of them.
Oh, okay.
Especially the little black hole, the runaway black hole.
Right.
But we will struggle on. I'll make something up, shall I?
Yeah, go on.
Basically, there's been a few things in the news this week, and it says one of them was, when they were talking about quasars, was that. Will our Milky Way become a quasar? And the thinking at the moment is that galaxy collisions produce quasars, which is understandable because if you get lots of extra material coming into your own galaxy and you got two black holes merging, then they're going to start feeding ferociously, which will create a quasar. The thing is, you don't want to really be around a quasar. They emit a hell of a lot of energy and radiation. That was just one of the newses. And they think that possibly when we merge or we pass through Andromeda, this could kick off a quasar. So, we won't be around to see it. But, it was just one of those things. Basically, will our Milky Way end up as a quasar? It's just a speculation on whether or not all this extra gas that will be piling into our galaxy will end up feeding our black hole and turning it into a quasar. And of course, quasars are some of the most distant objects we can actually see. They're all usually way out in the distance, but we can still see them because they are so energetic, and we can still pick them up. That was one piece of news. And one that I think is really fantastic is the Voyager probes. I don't know if anybody else read this, but the Voyager probes, they're going to be extend the actual lives of the instruments on the probes themselves. Now, of course, we've got Voyager 1 and 2. Now, you would have thought Voyager 1 would have left before 2, but it wasn't. Voyager 2 left the Earth before Voyager 1. And basically what's happened is that they're now leaving the protection of the sun here, the heliosphere, and they're entering into interstellar space. But their instruments are still producing data, which they're sending back. Now, they were thinking that this year they would have to shut down Voyager 2. But then somebody sort of went back to the schematics, I suppose, I don't know, and said, well, what's this battery pack over here? Or this little reservoir over here? And it turns out they had an emergency supply of electricity, which was to be used in the case of there was a catastrophe with the original, because of course it's run by nuclear power. So what they're going to do is they're going to fire up this extra electricity, and it will run, instead of shutting down Voyager 2 this year, it will extend its life to 2026. Now, of course, we know that 2027 is its 50th anniversary of its launch.
Ah, yes.
But Voyager 1...
No.
Sorry, Andy.
Yes, it is. It's that brilliant anniversary coming up.
Yeah.
It would be wonderful if they could both make it.
Yeah, but with Voyager 1, which was launched second, if you remember, one of the instruments failed straight away, so it hasn't been using so much power. And what they've now decided to do is they would try this method with Voyager 2 and try and extend the life. And if it works, because Voyager 1 has still got that extra bit of energy left in its radioactive isotope, then what they'll have, they gives them an extra year before they have to try to put up this backup power in, which means it will run to 2027. So at least, I mean, hopefully both of them will make it to 2027, but at least Voyager 1 will. And I think that's absolutely fantastic. These are little probes that have just been given and given. They were only supposed to last 4 years, and we're talking, talking 50, nearly 50 years. So it's absolutely, and this is something we're finding more and more with virtually anything we're doing now, that we expect these to last sort of like 4, 5, 6 years and all that, and they're going on and on. Of the robots on Mars is a prime example. They're only supposed to last sort of like, a few months and all that, but they're going on years. It's absolutely fantastic. What else have I got?
When New Horizons flew past Pluto, it marked the virtually dead on the 50th anniversary of the beginning of our reconnaissance of the solar system with robotic probes. Now, all major bodies, of course, of the solar system, including Pluto. So you can say, well, that's, we've done an amazing job having a look at those planets in the solar system and Pluto. But of course, you have to remember a lot of the reconnaissance was done by the Voyagers, and there should have been a lot more missions going to the planets after Voyager. And the concentration has been on Mars for so long, and not so much the outer world, which is a real shame, because, I know that we've always had this big desire to find out if there's life on Mars or not. But as of now, we're still none the wiser after all of the missions that have been sent there. And I'm sure everybody would agree we should have sent more probes to the outer planets. We should go back to the ice giants, to Saturn, and it's a wasted opportunity, really.
The problem with the outer planets.
Yeah, it really is. Now I know. Bernard's got something on
your
juice.
Your volume's gone really low, Bernard.
Oh, sorry, is my volume not working?
Yeah, it's working.
We can hear you now.
Here a bit. Okay,
yeah.
Try now.
Turn me up.
Yeah, there we are.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to. I had 2 points about the Voyager. I mean, the first thing, Andy, with regard to your comment, of course, is the problem is that going to the outer solar system until now required nuclear-powered energy. And that was expensive, complicated, and was limited resources. So that was a significant constraint with regards to us exploring the outer solar system. And Mars was just next door, so just pack some solar panels, on a piece of metal and launch it, and there you go. You have a Mars probe, right? So the outer solar system is really complicated. So, but I completely agree with you. We should have, after the Voyagers, of course, developed the Galileo flagship, which had its own mishaps, which I will discuss about actually tonight. And it's just the outer solar system is just incredibly difficult place to go and visit. The Voyagers are there, and you're absolutely right, Daz. It's just phenomenal what these 2 probes have done. And let's not forget, folks, that Voyager 2 is flying parallel to the ecliptic plane, whereas Voyager 1 has shot up straight perpendicular to the ecliptic plane. So they're really at very, very different locations within our solar system, and that's the exciting stuff. So if they can both make it to the 50th birthday, wow, 50th anniversary, that would just be absolutely tremendous.
Can I just, if you haven't seen it, you must watch the award-winning Irish film The Farthest, which is the history of the Voyagers. It's a brilliant film, absolutely brilliant. It's called The Farthest. You can find it somewhere, no doubt. But it did win awards for its brilliant, just taking a part of all of the Voyager missions from beginning to end. Speak to the people, talk to people like Ed Stone and lots of other people who are actually involved at the time. And it's a wonderful film, and it's got Pink Floyd doing some of the music for it. So what more do you want out of life?
Yeah, excellent. That's got to be good then. Got to be good. Yeah. Well, of course, there is also, I think, a Horizon, a BBC Horizon. I think it's just called the Voyager story, and that is a fascinating tale of how it all came about, and goes all through the story. But it's quite old now, so it cuts off.
If you give me a
when
second, I will
I think
tell
it's
you
Bernard.
exactly when the title of that, because no doubt I have it. So
Bernard, your sound's gone again.
does it sound?
Okay, I'm back. Am I back?
Ah, okay, you're back.
Yeah. I'm just
You're back now.
No, I just wanted to bring Ian's comment here. Perhaps they overestimated the adverse effect of the environment. There's so many things that come into the design of a space probe. I think what we all need to remember is that these things, are supposed to last during their primary mission. So even if the primary mission is 4 years. It's just like engineers. They're going to sandbag this and say, okay, let's just try and make sure that the probe can last more than 4 years, right? At least 6 years or 7 years. And there's always constraints with, and weight
and of course,
and everything.
The prime mission is what's actually budgeted for all the staff that's required to run it, of course, as well, isn't it?
Indeed, and there's also that element to it and it's a big problem with NASA because, as you said, there's so many missions now that we're now used to all these missions lasting longer than they're expected, and that's eating into the budget because suddenly these budgets were not allocated for originally. So it is.
That's right. Yeah, you've got to have the people to run these things. It's like with Voyager, there was a problem, wasn't there, with the computers. And they thought, oh, how are we going to get out of this? And they thought, oh, let's look at the programming. And they had to go back out and take people out of retirement from the 70s because the system it was running was so old, nobody knew how to correct it at the moment. So, yeah, with 50 years, like we said, the people who worked on it are all retired and things like that. So, and of course, as you go further out, people are saying, well, why are we using nuclear power to generate electricity to run these things? And as of course, it's because you're so far away from the sun. And solar panels will not cut it. They won't produce enough electricity to keep these things going. So they have to
look at the size of the solar panels they put on JUICE. I mean, they're absolutely, and that's only Jupiter. So it's absolutely. By the way, we should mention JUICE. We've been celebrating the launch of the juicy thing, the Jupiter Icy Moons Orbiter, as you know. But unfortunately, it's hit a problem. Its radar antenna, like a huge long pole, has not deployed. They think that a pin in the release mechanism is stuck, and they can't free it at the moment. They've got plans, of course, to try and fix it, and they've got until 2031 to fix it. In fact, till JUICE arrives at the Jovian system. But for the moment, it's a pretty worrying development from JUICE. Ah, there we are.
So that's me. I was going to mention it. Absolutely. So this is the antenna like for the ice penetrating radar. And I've just checked on the latest Twitter feed on JUICE, and they still haven't made an update the last few days. So they're still trying to work on it. They're going to try and do various things like shake the spacecraft. They seem quite confident, I'd say, or at least they seem a bit more confident than I would in relation to this.
That's what they said about the Galileo high gain. Well,
I think the problem with the Galileo is that originally they had no idea what was going on. They didn't realize that the real lubricant had gone away from the high gain antenna, which is a very completely different instrument that was being blocked here. And this is a shame because if they touch wood, and hopefully it will be fine, but if this ice penetrating radar at its best would be able to analyze or study quite deeply into the ice shell up to 150 meters. Let me just quickly go back. Corresponds to a vertical resolution of up to 140 meters of ice if they would analyze the ice at a bandwidth of 1 megahertz. So they could go really deep within the ice shell and be able to really characterize Ganymede and Callisto. And and just a little band of Europa. So cross fingers. Let's see what goes out. This is an instrument-led, an Italian-led instrument. Let's hope they do everything they can to make this work, and we'll let you guys know.
Yeah, because as you said, they're trying different methods, like you say, shake the spacecraft, and but they're also going to. There was something about, because they think it's a pin that just hasn't come out far enough, and they keep rolling it back in, pushing it back out again, and it's moving a bit more every time. But one of the things they're going to do is the motors on the shaded side of the spacecraft. So what they're going to do is turn it over so that it gets more heat, and hopefully it will work a bit more efficiently. So hopefully we can get this sorted out. But it's not all bad news, because it's managed to extend the magnetometer boom, and that took 2 seconds, so that worked. And with the actual data, they turn the recordings on and get data, and you could actually see the boom on the data as the magnetism changed, as it moved. The actual sensor moved away from the spacecraft itself. So it's not all bad news.
And that magnetometer is it's probably more crucial than the radar, to be quite honest, because the magnetometer will enable us to characterize exactly what's going on under the ice. It should be able to tell us, firstly, obviously, if those oceans are really there, which we believe they are under Europa, Callisto, and Ganymede. Secondly, it should be able to tell us how far down the ocean floor is, and all sorts of stuff like that, purely from the magnetic fields radiating around the moons themselves. So I think, because the ground penetrating radar, obviously it can't go down through kilometers and kilometers and kilometers of ice to tell us exactly how thick the ice is. But as Bernard said, if they can get it working, it will help enormously to characterize the density of that ice and its sort of, concentrations, and where it might be thinner, where it might be thicker, this sort of thing. So let's hope that that they manage to do that with JUICE. But they've got until 2031 to come up with a solution. So I'm sure they're not worried at the moment. But of course, the further it gets from the Earth, the more difficult these things can get. So
yeah, the only caveat, of course, is that as they try and shake the instruments and do whatever with the spacecraft, that will slowly eat up a little bit of the fuel they have.
Yeah, exactly.
So to be really careful is what they do.
Yeah, they need to be very careful. Yeah, and somebody on Facebook talking about the Voyagers quite rightly points out that they've lasted 50 years well made, like Morris miners. So yeah, absolutely, I agree with that. So thank you, Facebook user. I'm afraid we can't see your name because of the limitations of the software. Facebook just reports to us that you are a Facebook user, but doesn't carry across your name, unfortunately. So,
I have a question.
Yes.
I have no idea what a Morris minor is, because
Yeah.
I am
you
from a certain age, you see.
Yeah, well, you have to be a certain age and English to appreciate.
Yes, exactly.
Morris minor.
So maybe for viewers that come from another country than England, what is a Morris?
I'm going to show you one exactly now, if you just give me a second. And
a very small British-made car.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and legendary.
Yeah.
It was
absolutely legendary. Let me
legendary in England only, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
I'm sure they were exported. I'm sure.
Yeah, they were. Yeah.
There we are. I'll show you the. I'll show it to you now. Actually,
sorry, folks. My knowledge of everything.
There we are. That's the Morris minor.
All right. Yes, I do recognize this. Yes.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Cool.
Yeah. So there we are. And Facebook user, you're quite right. I mean, the Morris miners just lasted forever.
Yeah.
And so
just like the VW Beetle.
Yeah. Ian, yes, I should have pointed that out earlier. Ladies and gentlemen, Rachael cannot join us tonight, unfortunately, being bank holiday. She's occupied with other things. And so I'm afraid there will be no viewers gallery tonight. Thank you to those of you who sent your pictures into the gallery. We will, of course, show them next week. assuming Rachel's back next week. So apologies for that. But, Rachel does deserve, in her condition, an evening off occasionally, especially on a bank holiday. I think she just wanted a quiet night to be with her man. So
That's fine, yeah. Yeah, I've just got one more thing, Andy. And it was following on from what Roger showed us about the galaxies when they were looking at the Pandora galaxy. They were using the Pandora galaxy to gravitationally lens, which is what you were talking about earlier. Galaxies that are beyond that. And what they found, what were these galaxies? It basically says Webb reveals early universe prequel to huge galaxy cluster. Now, what that means is these. It's thrown a spanner. Now, when the Webb was launched, we turned around and said at the time it's going to look back in time, and it's going to either confirm what our theories are correct, or it's going to tell us that we're going to have to go back, rethink them, or maybe that we're completely wrong about the origins of the universe and how these things made. And it was basically one of the things it's like the chicken and the egg, is whether or not black holes came first or galaxies came first and things like that. Well, basically, these first were noticed by the Hubble telescope, but of course the Hubble only was an optical telescope, and it had only near infrared capability to look at that. So these galaxies at the time were very, very dim to the Hubble Space Telescope. But when they did analysis, they realized that they were very old. So what they did then is when the James Webb went up, and of course we knew this was going to happen, we knew it was going to throw us some curveballs, and this is one of those curveballs. Using its, I've lost it now, its near spectrometer thingy. It's looked at this spectrograph, and it is confirmed because when they did the Hubble one, they checked the redshift, and these were coming back at 7.9, which is a mere 650 million years after the Big Bang. Now, at that time, we should not have galaxies that big. There's no way they could exist if our knowledge of galaxy formation is correct. Because we know to form a galaxy the size of the Milky Way takes millions of years. So what they're saying, and then what they did with the Webb telescope, they clarified they did other readings using the spectrometer, and they've basically confirmed that these galaxies are at this age. But they're saying maybe some of these galaxies could be quasars or supermassive black holes. So the jaw is still out. There's still a lot of information that's got to be gleaned from this. But using the Webb, they've been able to gauge the mass within this small cluster. Well, I say a small cluster. I'm going to contradict myself in a second. Of this cluster, this pre-cluster as they call it, and they say the direction of their movement and their speed. Now, they reckon that these big galaxies, and some of them are really huge, will form a cluster which will be in comparison to the Coma cluster, which is one of the hugest clusters, galaxy clusters we've got we know of today. So this is a cluster that is actually still forming, and as I said, it goes all the way back to just 250 million years after the Big Bang. So, but as they said, really, as our understanding at the moment, these shouldn't exist this big. So it's one of those curveballs that's been sent. It's one of these things to watch. There's a lot of speculation going on already. Ignore what you're seeing in the papers saying that the Big Bang didn't happen. It's been disproved. Webb's done all that. Forget all of that. It's all clickbait. But this is something that has to be investigated, and it may mean we'll have to rewrite some of our theories. But this is what it's all about. This is what, and I think that to be quite honest, I was talking to Andy earlier, and this really tickled my interest bone. I am really fascinated with this story because this is what it's all about. We're living in exciting times, and the web is. It's just blowing our minds every time it does something.
I
So
think
that's it.
I think you can sum this up in just a few sentences. Firstly, don't believe what you say in the media. The media is just the people writing in the media generally don't know much about science, and it's much more productive in terms of circulation figures and sales to have a headline that says, the web proves the Big Bang didn't happen, because these things tend to sell newspapers and advertising space and whatever. All that's happened is that we knew before the James Webb Telescope launched that our models of galaxy formation are incomplete. Now, the way that we believe most galaxies form, if not all, is they form from the bottom up, that they form from swallowing up smaller galaxies and accreting, if you like, that way into bigger galaxies. That's the current model. We also knew before the Webb that there were galaxies, we'd already seen galaxies that were a lot more advanced along the road of their evolution than they should have been at the age that we observed them and at the redshift we observed them. We knew that. All that the Webb has shown us is that our current theories of galaxy formation are incomplete. That there are things that we've not exactly overlooked, but that we haven't until now had the evidence for. The observational power of the Webb has given us the tools to look at these galaxies in detail at a much earlier stage in their evolution. So we knew that our theories were incomplete, but that's how science works. This is science in action. We come up with a theory, we make new observations, we refine the theory in the light of those new observations, which is exactly what astronomers will do with this information. They will refine the theories and we'll come up with a better theory about galaxy formation that aligns more closely with the observations that we see. And that's it. And it's nothing more sensational than that. It's science in action. And that's what I've got to say. Silence. Okay. Right.
Yeah, well done. Well done.
Anyway.
It's true. Like you say, it's absolutely true.
Anyway, I just want to give a quick shout out to a lovely YouTube channel, which is called the Anglo-Irish Astronomy Geeks. And these are a bunch of people from Ireland and the UK who get together on YouTube, record podcasts on YouTube, and have special guests and get up to all sorts of astronomical shenanigans. And they were fortunate enough to have me as a guest not so long ago. So I'd just like to give them a quick shout out because they've just started a new series, if you like. So good luck with that, guys. And I hope everything goes well. And I just put the YouTube address here. It's YouTube / @Anglo-Irish Astro Geeks 1621 @Anglo-Irish Astro Geeks 1621. And they confused me because they entitled one of their videos Anglo-Irish Astro Greeks. So I thought that bringing the Greeks in now as well. But anyway, good luck with everything, guys. It'd be lovely to see you again sometime, and we'll be more than happy to advertise anything you've got going on. So all the best. All right, it's come to the high point of the evening. Are you ready for this? We'd like to present our competition for May. Yes, that's it. Roll of drums, crash of cymbals. And this month, our competition is a juicy one. It's a juicy competition. Hooray! And here's what it's all about. You can win this telescope. Well, not that exact one. It's a real one. And it's a Celestron telescope. And it's suitable as a 70mm telescope. It's suitable for, a child would love this, a beginner would love this. And anybody just really starting out in astronomy is really classed as a beginner's scope. If you want technical information about this, I'll be more than happy to give it to you. Just drop us an email at spaceodditieslive@gmail.com, as always. So what do you have to do to win this exciting prize? Well, The competition is open to children up to and including the age of 12 who are resident in the UK or Ireland. Entrants should create an image in any medium, paint, pencil, whatever. We will accept computer-generated images as well, I think. So any sort of medium. The children should create an image of something related to the JUICE mission, the Jupiter Icy Moons Explorer. On the left, there's an image of JUICE and the 4 Galilean moons of Jupiter. You may come up with something more creative, but anything relating to the JUICE mission. Take a photo of that image, mail it to us at the usual address, spaceodditieslive@gmail.com. Please, please, please entitle your email competition entry. Make it easier for us to find the competition entries in our mailbox. So please entitle the email competition entry. And please include the name and age of the entrant, of the child. That email should arrive no later than midnight UK time on Friday, the 12th of May. So please, no later than midnight UK time on Friday, the 12th of May. I'm afraid any entries that are received after that, for the sake of fairness, we will not be including in the competition. So make sure you get your entries in by no later than midnight UK time on Friday, the 12th of May. I will be posting this information on the Facebook page probably tomorrow, so you can have a look then if you don't get this tonight. The image adjudged the best by the Space Oddities panel, that's us, will win the telescope. I mean, what a lovely thing to win. Our decision is final. There are no alternative prizes. There are no cash alternatives. It's win the telescope or nothing. And we'll announce the winner on this show on Monday, the 15th of May. And we will, of course, send an email to the winner to notify them and ask for their address to send the telescope to. So there you are. That's our competition for this month. I'll just leave this up on the screen for just a little bit longer. And I'll just go a quick summary. The competition is open for children up to and including age 12 who are resident in the UK or Ireland. The children should create an image or in whatever medium of something relating to the European JUICE mission. Photograph that, mail it to spaceodditieslive@gmail.com. Don't forget to entitle your entry competition entry. The email should be with us by no later than midnight on Friday, the 12th of May. Nothing will be considered for inclusion in the competition after that time. The one we think is the best wins. Our decision is final. No cash, no alternative prizes. It's the telescope or nothing. And we'll announce the result on Monday, the 15th of May. If you would like more information about JUICE, perhaps to get some inspiration, there's a good place to go, which is the actual European Space Agency website for JUICE, which is at that address. I've also created a QR code here with that information in. I'll leave this up on the screen for just a bit longer so that if you want to scan this, you can. Otherwise, if you just Google ESA, European Space Agency, space JUICE, you will find the website immediately. But, there's some images there. You can Google, obviously, the Jupiter Icy Moons Explorer. Don't just Google JUICE because you'll get orange and pineapple and everything else. So if you Google Jupiter Icy or ESA JUICE, normally finds it, and have a look at Google Images. There are thousands of images there from which you might draw some inspiration. So that's the competition. We'd like, obviously, to wish you all the very, very best of luck with that. And we look forward to having a look at the children's creations. As you may know, at Space Oddities, we're very keen to get children into and interested in astronomy. And this is why we like running competitions for the children, because they are the future of astronomy, obviously. So, and because it's a Celestron telescope, Celestron are one of the world's top manufacturers of telescopes. So you know that the quality is going to be good. It's not going to be, a £20 little special with a plastic objective lens and the sort of rubbish you see cheaply in shops these days. Well, forever, really. So it's a good quality telescope. It's a lovely prize. As I said, it would suit a child or somebody just starting out, finding their feet in astronomy. So there we are. So that's the May competition. So the very best of luck to all the children who enter. And we will, of course, show all the entries on our Monday, the 15th of May show. And we'll put them in the gallery. So we look forward to having a look at those. And the last time we had a children's art competition here, also to win I think that was the last time we gave away a telescope as well. Yeah, it
That's
was.
right, yeah.
So that was fantastic fun, and we had some very high quality entries indeed. So we look forward to seeing your entries there. And of course, it doesn't have to be your own children. If you're a parent and you've got a child up to the age of 12, great. But if you're a grandparent, it can be grandchildren. Any child in your family, of course, is eligible for entry as long as they live in the UK or Ireland, because I'm afraid we can't quite afford to send telescopes around the world at this point in our YouTube career. We will one day, of course, I'm sure, but that's quite some distance off. Okay, well, I think unless anybody has anything else, we were going to talk about space stations.
Ian was asking, can you pop the Space Geeks YouTube link in the
yes,
chat?
I'll do that now, actually. Yes, good idea. Yes, thank you for that.
Yeah, so we can pick up on that.
Let's get it there. Let me just hang on. I just need to edit that. Give me 1 second, and I will do that. And
also, I think we need to thank Rother Valley Optics for such a wonderful prize.
I did mention it earlier, but yes, thank you, Rother Valley, for such a wonderful prize. It is a lovely prize. I mean, if I'd been young, I would have been absolutely thrilled with that, and I'm sure anybody would. Yeah. There we are, Ian. I've put the Irish Anglo-Irish Astronomy Geeks address in the chat. So give them some love, because they do create interesting podcasts. So there we are, and there we are. Michael, you're going to say something?
Yes, I'd like to announce an event on.
Oh yes, you've got an event. Sorry, yes, you have.
Thursday. Yes.
Tell us all about it.
Okay, if I'll hold on, wrong one. I'm just going to share my screen if I can. Sorry about this.
While Michael is doing this, I'm just going to quickly fill up the time. I've just read that, and it might just environmental groups have sued the FAA in relation to the Starship launch. So I think this might complicate matters slightly. I don't know, and Daz, if you've spoken about this already, but.
No, I think this was guaranteed to happen.
This was predictable. I'd be very surprised.
But this will all have to be sorted.
It's specifically the Fish and Wildlife Administration, who are really going to come out really fighting about this, because although there are no reports of any casualties with the wildlife, they were being peppered with fragments of concrete.
Yes.
And it's a breeding ground for turtles. Lots of rare birds there, lots of migrating birds there. It's a big bird migration stop off, if you like. So it shouldn't have happened, and it happened because Elon Musk made a bad call, decided not to build a flame diverter, and that's it. And they're going to suffer as a result now, because these legal cases will just drag on for months and months and months.
They will. The lawsuit has just been filed today. So,
right.
And apparently there's quite a few environmental groups. So, the more the merrier, right? As they say.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, definitely.
Michael, it's up to you.
Yeah. Okay. Can you see my screen yet?
Hang on 1 second. Yeah, there we are.
Okay, right. Thank you, Andy. I'd just like to invite everyone to a lecture meeting this week on this Thursday, the 4th of May, at 2000 hours UK time. It's the 50th anniversary of the launch of Skylab, and this is a talk entitled "We Can Fix Anything: The Salvation of Skylab." Many of you will remember that when Skylab was launched, lots of things didn't go to plan, including one of the solar panels was ripped off, and and also a heat shield was damaged as well, and caused the station to be very, very hot inside. So the first crew had to get to the station fairly quickly and fix things. And this is what this talk is all about. It's by spaceflight author Ben Evans, who has written several books on spaceflight over the years. And if you're interested, the website to go to is wecanfixanything.eventbrite.co.uk. Tickets are just £3 each, and it's open to anybody. And the meeting is this Thursday at 8 o'clock, and that goes out on Zoom. So looking forward to seeing some of you there this Thursday.
Lovely.
Okay.
Thank you, Michael. That's very kind of you. Good luck with that.
Mm-hmm.
Guys, we were going to discuss space stations tonight, but I suggest we leave that till next week, if that's okay, because I haven't had time to put anything together. I don't think Daz has. So next week we'll bill it here. We're going to discuss space stations and their future and what's coming up, what's been happening. An interesting topic because, as Daz and I were discussing only yesterday, not many people know just how many in the history of spaceflight, just how many space stations there have been in orbit around the Earth, and it's more than you think. And there are some interesting ones on the horizon, if you like, if that's not too much of a pun. And they're all private. This is the big difference.
And also with the ISS, the plans for that to be decommissioned, but also the private space companies that are going to add modules to it.
Yes, absolutely. So,
that sort of thing.
So that's that's Axiom Space. We've also got the Orbital Reef, which is a joint venture between Blue Origin and Sierra Space.
And we mustn't forget Gateway.
And we mustn't forget the Lunar Gateway, even if NASA have. So there you are. So anyway, I think that's it. Don't forget, get those competition entries into us by midnight on Friday the 12th of May. And we'll look forward to receiving them. We hope you've enjoyed yourselves this evening. It's been great fun to be with you all again. Thank you so much for your comments. And I see already that people have bought us some coffees tonight. So thank you so much for that.
Yay.
Much appreciated. Much appreciated. It really does help us. So thanks from us. And that's it. So we'll see you again, 8 o'clock UK time next Monday. So from all of us here at Space Oddities, have a fantastic week. Take care of yourselves. And from us, it's goodbye. Say goodbye, panel.
Goodbye,
Goodbye, panel.
Bye, panel. Bye.
See you all next week. Keep looking up.
Yeah. And don't forget to like